Hi, my friends. Today, I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it. I was 10 when I realized I was a guest in my own family. The Atkins name, in our neat brick house in Appleton, Wisconsin, was more important than any feeling I could ever have. My father, Graham Atkins, a former economics professor turned local businessman, liked to remind people, we build legacy here. Legacy met Harry, my older brother, the golden son, with his straight A's, debate trophies, and early admission to Yale's pre-law summer program. At family dinners, his stories were gospel. My mother, Margaret, would tilt her wine glass, smiling at him like he was the second coming. Meanwhile, I, Riley, sat there tracing circles in the gravy on my plate, praying they wouldn't notice me, because when they did, it was always the same. Why can't you be more like your brother? I still remember the night I showed Dad my first real website, a simple online store I'd built for Mrs. Miller's flower shop. I'd spent weeks coding it after homework, my fingers aching on that cheap laptop. I was so sure he'd be proud. Instead, he barely looked up from his newspaper. Dad, look, Mrs. Miller got her first online order yesterday, I said. Riley, he cut me off, folding the page sharply. What do you do with these screens? It's not a career, it's a hobby. Focus on your grades. Harry's studying for the LSAT already. That's how you make this family proud. Mom just nodded, her smile tight as thread. She never defended me. Listen to your father, Riley. We only want the best for you. Every praise they gave Harry made me smaller. By high school, our fridge was a shrine to his acceptance letters, while my robotics club trophy was shoved behind expired yogurt. Once, I asked Harry, do you ever get tired of being perfect? He shrugged, not unkind, but distant, like he didn't even know how to answer. Just do what they want. It's easier. But I couldn't. Even then, I knew I'd suffocate in this house of polished floors and conditional love. Each night, I'd lie awake in bed, the glow of my laptop screen, the only thing that made me feel real. I didn't know it yet, but the same screen they mocked would become my escape, and one day, my revenge. The night I left still lives in my bones, the cold Wisconsin air biting at my cheeks, the echo of my father's voice slammed into my back like hail. It started with the same old script. I came home from community college to grab my laptop charger. Dad sat at the kitchen table, bills spread out like a battlefield. Where were you this morning? He asked, not looking up. Meeting a local craft store owner. She wants me to build her site, I said. He laughed, a sharp, steaming sound. So, you're still wasting time on that nonsense? When are you going to stop playing pretend and get serious? I felt it then, the thing that had been twisting in my chest for years, snapping free. I am serious, Dad. I have 5 clients now. I'm making more than minimum wage. It's working. He slammed his palm down so hard the mug tipped. You're not listening. You'll never make a living like this. You think you're smarter than everyone. You think you don't need this family? No, Dad. My voice cracked, but I didn't back down. I just want to build something that's mine. Something real. Mom peeked out from the hallway. She didn't say a word, just watched like she always did. Dad's face twisted red, veins rising in his neck. Get out, Riley. If you won't listen, then you can leave. See how far that worthless laptop takes you. He didn't mean it, or maybe he did, but I grabbed my charger anyway, then my jacket. My mother opened her mouth as if to stop me, but nothing came out. I looked at her, searching for any hint that she'd tell me to stay. She didn't, so I left. The night swallowed me whole. I trudged 2 miles to a friend's couch, my backpack cutting into my shoulders. My whole life was in that bag, a battered laptop, $2,500 in crumpled bills, a half-full notebook of half-baked ideas. By morning, I found a tiny studio above a laundromat. The walls were thin and smelled like detergent, but it was mine. I set up my laptop on a wobbly thrift store table and opened my old spreadsheets. I was scared, terrified, but as the first snow fell outside my single drafty window, I told myself the truth. They'd throw me out because I wouldn't bend, and now, out here in the cold, I could finally stand up straight. The irony is that the same family who threw me out now lives in a house I paid for, though they'll never admit it. I never meant to look back. But late nights at Bite Smith's, the name I gave my fledgling startup once it grew too big for my creaky apartment, I catch myself scrolling through my parents' foreclosure notices online, mortgage unpaid, medical bills piling up, Harry's twins needing daycare. His salary could barely touch it. Part of me wanted to shut the tab, tell myself they made their bed, but the other part, the part that still wished they'd loved me differently, couldn't. So, I called Robert King, my lawyer and the closest thing I had to family back then. "Robert, how do you help people who'd never accept your help?" He laughed softly. "You hide behind paperwork, Riley, just don't leave a trail back to you." And so I did. I set up the Bayfield Education Trust to honor local educators. My mother got her thyroid treatments covered within a month. I created Pine Hollow Holdings, a community mortgage relief grant. Their overdue house payments started landing on time. Harry called once, out of the blue. I froze when I saw his name flash across my phone. "Riley, when you left us, we had accumulated so many debts, the mortgage, my mother's medical bills, and my children's education. But can you imagine someone paid off our debts? It's like magic. Parents think it's the county." I almost told him then, "It's me, it's always been me." But instead, I just said, "Take care of the twins, Harry." Sometimes it felt like a sick joke. I signed 7-figure contracts for Bite Smiths, spoke at tech conferences under bright lights, and rode home each Christmas in a rental car just to sit at that same table where my mother still asked, "Have you thought about going back to school?" Each time, I smiled politely. Each time, I wanted to scream, "You're living under the roof I keep over your heads." But I didn't, because I told myself it wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving to myself I could be more than they ever dreamed. But the secret weighed on me like a stone in my chest. I paid their bills, I carried their pride, and Harry, on my back like an old ghost, and all the while, they whispered that I was still the family disappointment, unaware their disappointment was the one writing the checks that kept the lights on. One day, I knew the truth would come out, and when it did, they'd either see me or they'd push me away forever. I still don't know what possessed me to do it. Maybe it was the way Mom called that October, her voice pinched yet smug. "Don't forget Thanksgiving, Riley, Harry's bringing the twins. They love to see their aunt." I'd had enough. This time, I wasn't coming empty-handed. I'd arrived at the old house on Pine Hollow Drive, carrying a folder so thick it barely fit in my bag. The kitchen smelled of turkey and cranberry sauce, but all I tasted was the bitterness lodged in my throat. Dinner began like every other year, Dad's half-hearted nod, Mom's tight-lipped smile, Harry acting like the bridge between us all. The twins climbed into my lap, sticky fingers and soft giggles that almost broke my resolve. When the plates were cleared, Dad rose to make his usual toast, to family and to Harry for showing us what hard work and dedication looked like. I didn't wait. I stood, my chair scraping the hardwood so sharply that the twins flinched. I pulled the folder from my bag and laid it on the table. "Actually, I'd like to share something, too." Mom's fork linked onto her plate. Harry frowned. "Riley, can't this wait?" "No, it can't." I flipped open the first page, a photo of Bite Smith's headquarters ribbon cutting, my face smiling, projected on a 10-foot banner. "I didn't drop out to waste my life. I built Bite Smiths from that laptop you said was worthless. I employ over 200 people, and you know what's even better? Every mortgage payment, every medical bill, that's me. I paid it all. You've been living off your disappointment for years." Dad's face went pale. Mom pressed a napkin to her lips. "What kind of sick joke is this?" Dad hissed. "It's not a joke." I pulled out the trust statements, the wire transfers, the fake scholarship letters for Harry's twins, all with my signature hidden behind legal shell companies. "Look, read it. I was your ghost benefactor, and not once did you say thank you." Harry's voice cracked. "Riley, why didn't you just tell us?" I met his eyes. "Would you have believed me, or would you have told me to get a real job again?" Mom looked at me like I'd grown horns. Dad slammed his fist on the table. "You're a liar, a fraud. You'll always be a disgrace to this family." For a moment, the old ache returned, but it vanished just as quickly. "Then you don't get to live off my money anymore. The support ends today. Good luck paying your bills, Dad." I left them there, stunned in the flickering glow of the chandelier, the perfect sun, the disappointed parents, the table covered in truth they couldn't swallow. I stepped out into the November cold, free for the first time in years. And I didn't look back. I stopped all financial support and left for good, moving to my $34 million villa in California to start over on my own terms. California sun spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new villa, my villa like a promise I finally earned. No more creaking apartments or hidden wire transfers. This was mine, just like every decision from now on. I unpacked the last box myself, setting my old laptop, the same one Dad once mocked, on a polished oak desk overlooking the ocean. A reminder, I thought, where you began and where you'll go. Bytesmiths thrived after I broke off relations with my parents. We signed 2 multi-chain contracts before the year's end, pushing us to heights I'd only dreamed of in my drafty Portland studio. For the first time, my name, Riley Atkins, CEO, wasn't something I hid. But what mattered most wasn't the money. It was standing on stage launching the beginning of the Journey grant, my promise to kids like me who had drive but no diploma. After my talk, a voice behind me said, "Riley." I turned to find Caleb, an old friend turned something more, grinning like he'd known I'd make it all along. "So this is the empire you built?" he teased. "No," I said, touching his hand lightly, "this is just the beginning." A month later, Harry called, not for money, but to say sorry in a way that finally felt real. We met for coffee by the cliffs, no demands, just 2 siblings starting over, maybe. When I lock my office each night, I whisper to myself, no more shame, no more hiding, just me, whole, free, and finally enough. Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.